I want you to imagine opening your credit report and seeing 17 accounts you never opened, a mortgage on a house in another state, 3 car loans, a business registered in your name for a company you've never heard of, a pile of debt totaling just under $200,000. That was my Tuesday morning, 4 years ago. My name is not on any of those accounts by choice. My sister put it there, and she had been doing it quietly, methodically, for 6 years before I found out. Sarah and I were close growing up, 13 months apart. People used to think we were twins. We shared everything. Bedrooms, clothes, inside jokes, the kind of shorthand that only siblings have. When our parents divorced, we leaned on each other harder. She was the one constant. After college, we drifted geographically. She moved to Phoenix. I stayed in Ohio. But we talked every week. Birthdays, holidays, the occasional visit. Normal sister stuff. I had no reason to think anything was wrong. I got married at 28, bought a house, settled into the kind of ordinary life that feels like an achievement when you've worked for it. I was proud of my credit score. Honestly, 742. Took years of discipline to build that. Which is why the letter from a collections agency in March of 2019 felt like a mistake. Obviously, someone had made a clerical error. I'd call and sort it out. It took me 3 phone calls to understand it wasn't a clerical error. The account was in my name, my social security number, my date of birth. A credit card opened in 2013, maxed out, sent to collections in 2016. I had never seen a single statement. I hung up the phone and just sat there. I remember the specific silence of that moment, the refrigerator humming, my dog walking across the kitchen tile, the complete inability to process what I'd just been told. I pulled my full credit report that night, all 3 bureaus, and what I found there was like reading a biography of a life I hadn't lived. 17 accounts. The oldest opened in 2013, a few months after I'd shared my social security number with Sarah to help her fill out a rental application. At the time, she said she needed a co-signer reference, and the form required it. I didn't question it. She was my sister. The pattern became obvious once I laid it all out. Every account was opened within 3 months of a life event. My wedding, my home purchase, my promotion at work. Times when I was distracted. Times when I wouldn't be thinking about strange mail or unusual inquiries on my report. She had been watching, timing it. I didn't call her right away. I spent 2 weeks documenting everything first, printed every account, every date, every address the statements had been sent to. One of those addresses was an apartment in Phoenix, her old apartment, the one she'd moved out of years ago, apparently keeping a mail forwarding arrangement active the entire time. I hired a credit attorney, filed a police report, which was one of the hardest things I've ever done, writing my sister's name on a criminal complaint form. The detective I worked with had seen identity theft before. She had not seen it done this carefully, this patiently by a family member. My husband sat beside me. I had my documentation in front of me, and I had promised myself I would stay calm. She answered on the second ring, cheerful, asked how the dog was doing. I said, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. There was a pause, just a fraction of a second. But I had known her voice my entire life, and in that pause, I heard something shift. I told her what I'd found, all of it. The accounts, the dates, the address. I kept my voice level. I asked her to tell me I was wrong. She didn't say I was wrong. What she said, and I've thought about this sentence almost every day since, was, I was going to pay it all back. I just needed time. 6 years, 17 accounts, $200,000, and she had been planning to pay it back. I asked her why she hadn't just asked me for help. We'd helped each other before. I wasn't wealthy, but I wasn't without resources. If she'd been in trouble, I would have found a way. She said, I knew you'd say no. I said, you never asked. She started crying, and I felt something that I still don't have a name for. Not anger exactly, not grief exactly, something that sits between them. I had loved this person completely. I had trusted her with things I wouldn't give a stranger, and she had used that access deliberately and repeatedly to hollow out my financial life while calling me every Sunday to ask how the dog was. I told her the police report was already filed. I told her I was cooperating with investigators. I told her that I loved her and that I was so sorry it had come to this. And took almost 2 years. Sarah hired a defense attorney. There were negotiations, delays, continuances. During that time, my credit attorney worked to dispute and remove each account, a process that required documentation for every single line. Verification that I had not opened or authorized each one, affidavits, and multiple rounds of back and forth with the credit bureaus. My credit score dropped to 512 before it started recovering. We had to put off refinancing our mortgage. I spent hours each month on the phone with creditors, explaining, documenting, escalating. My husband handled it alongside me, and I will never stop being grateful for that, because there were days when I simply couldn't make another call. My parents found out. That was its own kind of painful. My mother could not accept it for a long time. She called me twice to ask if I was sure, if maybe there was a mistake. There was no mistake. Eventually, she stopped asking. Sarah pleaded guilty to identity theft and fraud. She received 3 years of supervised probation, restitution obligations, and a felony record that will follow her for the rest of her life. She did not go to prison, which I had mixed feelings about. 761 today. It took 3 years of active work to get it there. Every disputed account is gone. The mortgage refinance went through. Life has, in most visible ways, returned to normal. Sarah and I do not speak, not because I issued an ultimatum, I didn't, but because there is nothing left to say that would rebuild what she chose to take apart. Maybe that changes someday. I genuinely don't know. What I think about most is not the money or the years of cleanup. It's the Sunday phone calls. All the Sunday phone calls where she asked how the dog was, and I told her, and she laughed, and I had no idea. That's the part that sits with me. If there's anything I'd want someone to take from this, it's check your credit report. All 3 bureaus, once a year at minimum. Not because your sister is stealing your identity, probably she isn't, but because the people who can hurt you most are the ones you never thought to protect yourself from. I trusted her completely. That's not something I regret, but I'll never give anyone that kind of access again without keeping one eye on the door. If this story resonated with you, I'd really like to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had your trust broken by someone you never expected? And if you want to see more stories like this one, subscribing means you'll catch the next one when it posts. I'll see you there.